Hannah, welcome to the Your Sorority Journey podcast. After working with you so much this year, it's so fun to have you be a part of the So You Think You Want to Join a Sorority series.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk and chat.
Well, you live out the Panhellenic spirit so well in the way that you bring the fullness of other chapters, personalities, and perspectives into the same room to be a part of something bigger than yourself. Hannah, will you just start by telling us a little bit about your sorority journey, like what it was like for you going through recruitment, how you found your chapter, even though you can't tell us what chapter you're a part of for the purpose of the timing of this episode, and then how that's brought you to the role you get to serve in Panhellenic now?
Coming into college, I'm first generation, meaning also no one in my family had been gone Greek in college. So I really had no idea what to expect. And I'm from the North, I'm from Massachusetts. So SEC sorority was really intimidating to me. But luckily, I did have my roommate. We were both from Massachusetts and both didn't know what to expect. We were kind of in it together. But we went in and just kind of like, I wouldn't say not took it seriously, but we made sure we had fun with it. We really kept our options open. And I really enjoyed going through to each chapter, talking to each of the girls, getting to know them a little bit. And I even now still will see somebody that recruited me in a chapter I'm not in, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, she recruited me. Like she was so nice." And I think that really encapsulates the spirit of it is even though didn't become my sisters, like there's still these girls that I can wave to on campus and they're gonna wave back. So
Mm.
I ended up joining my chapter on bid day and I was very highly involved, still am, obviously, but I was super involved from the start. I was on committees and then I was a committee chair. I was the alternate delegate and went to convention, all the fun things.
Amazing.
And then I became a Pi Chi for recruitment last summer.
Will you tell
And
us what a pi chi is? If for anyone
sorry,
who calls
yes.
it something else.
A recruitment counselor. So your ROGAMs, your Pi Chis, your Gamma Chis, there's a lot of different names for them. So I became a recruitment counselor and I loved that process so much. I loved being on the Panhellenic, logistical operational side of recruitment. It really gave me a different perspective on the whole process, even though I had gone through it. Helping someone else go through it and seeing it through their eyes is totally different. So I finished with that, and the Panhellenic board, the exec board announced that they were creating a new position on the executive board called Vice President of Recruitment Counselors. And it was basically like a step up from head Pi Chi, which is what we used to have. And I just knew I wanted to do that. I loved it so much. I was like, I can see myself doing it again, but at a broader scale and helping the Pi Chis and recruitment counselors this year
Yeah.
um, have the same amazing experience that I had. So yeah, that's the overview, the Cliff Notes.
I love that. I love how you started with talking about being from the north, like the north is so far and distant from the experience that you were going into. And I know I was the same way, a different north, the northwest versus the
Yeah.
northeast. But I remember feeling that way too of going in really open-minded. And I guess I just want to encourage anyone that's listening, if you're going in and no one in your family's been in a sorority and you feel like everyone has a leg up on you, you actually have a leg up in a different way because you have an open mind. You have a fresh perspective, and you're going to be able to see all these chapters for who they truly are instead of sometimes through a lens that we overcomplicate when we've heard these names tossed around for a long time that doesn't fully depict the trueness of the chapter. But at the same time, when you go in with an open mind, this word Panhellenic is very vague and very confusing. Would you just explain for us, for anyone who's listening who's like, I've never heard that word before, Hannah? What is Panhellenic? Would you explain what Panhellenic is as an entity and how your role fits into that? And maybe even how that differentiates from leadership in these specific chapters that our future members will meet through the process?
Yeah, so I also didn't really understand what Panhellenic was before I joined it, in the executive board sense, getting into my position. But Panhellenic is essentially definition wise, It's the governing body for the National Panhellenic Conference, which is what has all of the chapters underneath it. So, at our campus, we have 13 of the National Panhellenic Conference sororities, going to be 14, and we are an umbrella group called the College Panhellenic Association. So, our council, it consists of a delegate from each of our chapters, as well as our executive board. So, I obviously serve as the vice president of recruitment counselors, and then we have a president, a finance, service, recruitment, uh, PR,
Yeah.
membership development, all the different positions that we all work together to host programming and be like a support system for all of the sororities and all of the members of the Panhellenic on campus. So we contribute to the whole community in more ways than people usually realize. So obviously we put on recruitment. And then we also do things wellness related. So we encourage our members to take care of themselves and prioritize like a balance between schoolwork and Greek life and like outside of Greek life. And we also offer like professional development things. We've done
Yeah.
free headshots, things like that. But our main goal is to build like a unified community between all of the Panhellenic sororities. And whether that's from like co-hosting sisterhoods with multiple chapters together or collaborating with the other councils on campus, the Cultural Greek Council, National Panhellenic, IFC, or just kind of doing initiatives that are community wide, it helps us grow as a stronger community.
Well, and I think you hit on a big misconception when people talk about Panhellenic, right? Well, two things, I suppose. The first is when people ask, like, oh, who is Panhellenic? So often we're like, oh, Hannah's Panhellenic because she's on the board, or the president is Panhellenic because, like, she's like running this community, when really, Panhellenic is each and every member of every chapter under that umbrella group on that campus. And obviously, the National Panhellenic Conference is that national piece that you talked about. And then each campus community gets to exist as a subset of that to cultivate this greater experience for women across chapters and mirror what's happening on the national level of serving the community's best interests while elevating different chapter concerns or like common struggles to ensure that like all of the members, regardless of specific affiliations, needs are getting met. And the second thing that you said that I love is that Panhellenic does that means that they do so much more than just host recruitment. It's like we only pay attention to this entity or talk about this, say that word, Panhellenic, around recruitment when really y'all are busy all year.
Yes.
Like y'all are working. What are some other common misconceptions about Panhellenic as an entity that you'd like to debunk today?
Yeah, so like we both have already mentioned, the biggest misconception that I usually hear is that we kind of show up during recruitment and then our jobs are done and we are back in the shadows and we don't do anything. But in reality, we work year round, individually with our own specific positions and what we are focused on, but also as an executive board to support all of the different chapters in our community, plan different events, and create that community essentially. And people also think that we have like authority over the individual chapters, but in reality, we're more of a resource for them. And I like to look at us as the glue that holds the community together, that takes all of the separate chapters that can be so different and unifies them into one community. And I think that's my favorite part of it is that we
Yeah.
are one community. So,
Well, and I think that mirrors really well what's happening on the chapter level too. You know, you talked about like all these different positions that exist on the Panhellenic Executive Board. The chapter leadership teams have positions with very similar titles, right? Like you've got a vice president of recruitment, you got a treasurer, you have some kind of secretary in some regard, right? Judicial affairs. And those are really creating connection for the chapter and all the different priorities that exist for it there. I feel like Panhellenic is doing that same thing of all the different interests and priorities, bringing it together to find like unity and like shared, like really highlighting the things that we have in common instead of highlighting the things that set us apart. Because I think in recruitment specifically, we are just subconsciously or very vocally identifying differences between chapters. And I think as future members, we do that to try to make sense of the process. And as
Right.
recruiters or chapter members, we're trying to do that maybe to overcome some insecurity, right? Of like how we can make ourselves feel better about this organization that we've chosen and belong to. If you can zoom out, obviously now you're biased, right? You've like drank the Kool-Aid, you're on Panhellenic exec, you are all in seeing the good that comes from a community being united. If you could rewind a year to when you were just a recruitment counselor, it was like your first taste of like being a leader in the community at large. What was like the greatest benefit or like aha moment that you had being in close proximity and working closely with women of other chapters?
I really like that question. I think for me, my aha moment honestly came before I was a recruitment counselor, but I fully realized it when I was serving as that Pi Kai. Um, I live in a 6 bedroom apartment. I have 5 roommates. It's a lot of girls to be living with, but my favorite thing and what I told my potential new members every time they would say like, "Oh, I don't know if I like would get along with the girls in this chapter versus this chapter." I tell them all the time that I live with 5 girls who are in completely different chapters than me, which I think is amazing. And I am so grateful for that. And I think that the aha moment came there where it's like, okay, like I can see how we all do share similar values because we all are a part of the Panhellenic community. Even though our chapters have different values, we still are like-minded and we still get along. And then when I was a recruitment counselor and I was on, that side of on the Panhellenic side of recruitment, I was like, this process is so in depth and so amazing because yes, it's so good for our community to like grow, but the main focus of it for everybody involved in it is the potential new members' experience, their sorority journey, which
Yeah.
is what I was obsessed with. I loved being able to like put all of my, like you said, my biases aside. I'm biased at this point. I put it all aside and I'm helping them find where they belong.
Mm,
I already had 3 years under my belt of being so happy in my chapter. Now on as a Pi Chi with all of my 200 other new friends, like it was just so like heartwarming. It felt nostalgic a little
uh-huh.
bit.
Yeah. Well, and it probably brought back a lot of memories of your recruitment experience
Yeah.
before, because there's something really vulnerable about being a potential new member, right? When you're interacting with all these women, you're getting advice from recruitment counselors and you're talking to recruiters whose membership is already secure. Like everyone you're talking to, besides fellow potential new members, know what home is on bid day. And you don't yet. And that's what the whole process is about getting you a home for bid day and beyond. But that process can feel so vulnerable. And so as you went through the process, and I had this experience too, actually, Hannah, I didn't realize how much of Panhellenic sisterhood we shared. But when you made friends with women in different chapters throughout the process of like, hey, I wasn't supposed to be in your chapter, but we had a great conversation about whatever, like that was really powerful and meaningful. And it makes me want to like say hi or like chat with you a little longer when we're both waiting for our coffee, like in the student union, or like, yeah, take a couple of minutes on our walk to class to like catch up really quick because there was something there. It breaks down those walls of competition and helps us realize how much more we have in common than what sets us apart. Because so often I think we isolate sisterhood to our individual chapters. And we put
Right.
all of our eggs in that basket because we think we have to be like 100% and 100% in with our chapter. And there's something special about each and every organization that draws different women to different chapters. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's even more beautiful when we let the values of our chapter be shared for the betterment of the community at large. You and I have talked about that before about what Panhellenic sisterhood looks like lived out, especially in leadership roles like being a recruitment counselor or a Panhellenic officer. And I think this is also true for our potential new members. It's like living out your chapter's values if you're a member already, or your personal values if you aren't yet, with the community's best interest in mind. Like that looks like maintaining relationships with the girl you stand behind every day or every round of recruitment that or every event of recruitment that first day, right? When you're like in alphabetical order, just like
Yep.
getting them done. And I just think that's a really cool part of your experience is like getting to see the like shared purpose and value of connection in college that sorority has to offer, regardless of what letters are in your Instagram bio.
Right.
I love that. So as we like wrap up, I'd love to hear what advice you have for this next generation of sorority women who are coming. They are coming this fall or in January. Um, how would you advise them to look for or embrace Panhellenic sisterhood as they are trying to find what is the right chapter for them through the recruitment process?
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice that I've always said, even when I was going through the process as a freshman and my other friends in my Pi Chi group were saying, how do I decide? How do I do this? I like, what do I wear? How do I do my hair? In my opinion and my experience, and what rings true for every campus and every recruitment process is that it's not about being perfect. It's about being true to who you are. A little funny like story about me is I actually put a blooper reel in my video as a potential new member.
That is
And
amazing.
right, isn't that so funny? And I knew that that was something that really showcased my personality. I could have,
Mm,
not done that and kept going on in the video, but that is something like I'm funny, silly like that. So that's what I put in to make it true to myself.
true
I
to
knew
you.
that
Yeah.
I would laugh at it. So somebody who I would want to be my sister would also laugh at it.
Aw.
And it can be a very overwhelming and crazy process, especially at bigger schools and even in smaller schools when it just feels like there's less people, so it's a little bit more intimate and intense. But all of the women that are, like we said, already secure in their membership are truly like rooting for you. They want you to join Greek life as a whole. Yes, we can all say, go our chapter, like rush the best, whatever. But in reality, we really just want our
Mm.
community as a whole to keep growing. So, um, I think that definitely lean on the people in the Panhellenic community. Your friends also going through recruitment, your family, your support system at home, anybody. Panhellenic, like every officer, every recruitment counselor, every executive board member are there to help you feel seen and supported and celebrated throughout the process. So just trust it and lean on them and know that there is a chapter that will feel like home for you as long as you stay true to yourself and keep your mind open.
I love that. That's so good. And I think what's so cool about what you said is like when you're true to yourself and you aren't like limited by who you think you should be, which allows you to maintain a lot of relationships that you meet along the way. It's like a dated reference now, but it's like Hannah Montana. You do get the best of both worlds, you know? Like you
Right,
can be a part of a chapter that you really align with, and there's like a values alignment or some kind of like click that you just like know, or the process leads you to knowing, right? That's the right chapter for you. But that doesn't mean you have to forfeit every single relationship or bond that you made throughout the process. When I speak to potential new members, or new members, we just remind them that, like, hey, sisterhood didn't start on bid day. Sisterhood started far beyond when you showed up for orientation, when you registered for recruitment and just started looking at sorority women differently on campus, right? Like every connection you made from that point was an opportunity for you to be a part of something bigger than yourself. So don't lose that just because you're a part of a chapter now. Like embrace
right,
that. And I think when you're true to yourself, you know that you don't have to choose. Like obviously, yes, you got to be a member of one chapter, but you get to be a part of a member of a whole rich community that's not just present at your campus, but expands coast to coast and around the world that you get to tap into as a result. And it's so much richer when you see that, like, the authenticity of who you are will be celebrated not just by those who you call sisters, but those who you call like Panhellenic friends and sisters. I also think it can give you a broader perspective and appreciation when you're like doing life closely with women who you don't share letters with, but you share values with. And I think it's so cool how you've gotten to do that.
Yeah, even the best part of it is that none of us met after we joined our chapters. We met as PNMs, as potential new
Wow.
members. Most of us were in the same Pi Chi group, recruitment council group. So super
Man,
sweet.
I
I love
love
it.
that. And you'll always carry those with you. One of our
Yep.
interns last year was one of three, all three in different chapters. That was me my senior year as well. Like I lived with a Phi Sigma Rho and a Chi Omega. And it was just like so fun. We'd like take each other to our like different social events, right?
Yep.
Like roll up to each other's philanthropies and, talk in secret about what our recruitment outfits were going to be when we weren't supposed to. We just like like
Yep.
celebrated the best of it. So, Hannah, I'm so thankful that you took the time to share your Panhellenic story and I'm rooting for you as you welcome new Panhellenic sisters to your community this fall. Anything you want to leave us with?
I think I've said all of it. I've given my advice. I've talked your ear off about Panhellenic because I just love it so much. And I'm really excited for anyone who's listening to find where they feel is their home, where they belong, and to join this community at whatever campus that may be. But so thank you for having me, Cassie.
Yes, this was so fun.